The tabletop takeaway.
Game mechanics on display.
3 designers share the stage.
Pick a genre and we'll play.
The tabletop takeaway.
Welcome back to the Tabletop Takeaway. I'm Charlie McCarran.
I'm Trevor Muller-Hagel.
Pretzel.
You'll get that joke later.
I'm Ananda. I'm Ananda Gunratna.
In this episode, we are going to be talking about Mechs versus Minions. And it's the third game in our series on programming games. We talked about Food Chain Magnet, Roll for the Galaxy, and now one that we are literally programming
Mechs.
robots, I guess, sort of. Mechs, yes. And this is a game published by Riot Games, who normally does video games, League of Legends specifically. And so this is kind of in that universe. And the entire game is a gigantic, huge box of tons of minions that are little minis that you're going to be going around in your mechs and killing them. Imagine kind of like a standard map board where you're going around to different squares, and each minion takes 1 damage and dies. So there's just constantly shooting them, running them over, etc. But the core fun of the game comes from programming your mechs with cards of 4 colors. There's yellow is like lightning energy effects that generally have speed to them. There's fire. There's blue, which is kind of metal defensive sometimes. And green, which is like computer programming, I guess.
Yeah.
And so how the core gameplay loop works, we are all cooperating, by the way. And there's a market of these cards that comes out, and we have a limited amount of time based on a sand timer to grab cards that we want to put into our program.
In a draft.
In the draft, yep. And the programming line, you have 6 slots where you can put these cards, and they generally fall into 3 categories. Each color has has all 3 types. One is kind of a move forward. One is turn 90 degrees, and one is just do damage. But the cool thing is, so say I put a yellow card in one slot. Now if I want to change that to be more powerful, I can take another yellow card, put it on top, and now it's powered up to level 2 of whatever that second card's ability is. So you're trying to keep, the same colors in your lanes where they are so that you can power them up, but you might be changing your strategy throughout. So that's the core gameplay. There's a series of campaigns. We played the first mission, and then we skipped ahead a little bit, so we will have some spoilers if you really want to keep it secret.
It has been out for 10 years.
It has, yep, it's been a while.
But we just want to talk a little bit about a special part of the game.
Yeah. So we will get to that. Anything else that I'm missing that is key to this?
With the core cards that you put into your tableau, any of them actually could have both like a turn and deal damage in some kind of capacity,
right,
or a move and deal damage. Some just accelerate your move. Some do other things with the damage that you deal.
Yeah. Some increase your area of your damage.
So like it's not all just like move, turn 90 degrees, move,
right,
turn 90 degrees. It's move, deal 2 damage, or deal a damage to the people in front of you, and then turn, and then deal 1 damage to the person within 1 range of you. It's like
there's some twist.
There's some twists to it and some options as well sometimes, and so you feel like you actually have some agency while going through your program.
Well, and the options I think are especially important because one thing that really struck me about the game is that you don't really change your program almost ever, which seems very weird because like you're going through these steps in order.
Mm-hmm.
And so every turn, you have to, move forward and then rotate right. And you would think that with your program being so fixed in place, it would be hard to accomplish your goals, and yet somehow it isn't.
Yeah.
And Now, some of the actions do have a little bit of choice. Like, for example, what was that green one? Where you stepped, something stomp.
Omni Stomp.
Omni stomp.
Omni Stomp.
Yeah, so that one's quite flexible, right? That lets you
Yeah.
go forward or to the side.
Yeah.
But in general, it doesn't feel like you should be able to accomplish as much as you can given the flexibility you have. And I'm especially curious about this because I had a game called Kluge I was working on, which has kind of a similar premise, in that you have a fixed program that you can't change very much, and you just have to make use of it. The idea in Kluge was that every turn you would add a new card somewhere in your program to try to fix the problems. But
Yeah, I think like one thing that makes this work in that, you said, oh, you can accomplish quite a bit. I think the fact that there are so many minions on the board,
Yeah.
it feels like, well, okay, I didn't move the way I wanted to, but now there's plenty of minions
There's
to
someone
kill
else in front of
over
me,
here.
and I can still be useful.
Yep, and they
Yes.
keep spawning every turn, usually
Yes.
through certain spawn points.
Yeah.
that's a really good point because thinking about Kluge, in Kluge, it's really just the players on the board. There's not a whole lot else.
Yeah.
And so, having minions everywhere, you just accidentally step on them and they die. And
Yeah.
it feels like you're doing something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you can't turn any direction without running into some minions. If you took away the minions, it would probably feel very sad and
This is actually a big critique I've had on my own game, Archmagus, where you're trying to do all these things, but if people don't have something they can actively do, then what's the point of what they're doing? And they just kind of feel a little aimless, and having all these minions and feel like you have accomplished something, even if by accident, you
Yeah.
still feel like you've been useful and helpful.
that is a really interesting point. The minions are not killing minions is not the objective of the game. There are other objectives in each mission. Killing minions is just something you do.
It's an obstacle.
But there's also the experience system, which I don't know if you mentioned.
No.
So basically, when you kill minions, they go onto this track, and for every 5 minions you kill, the entire team levels up.
Yeah.
So it's not like an individual experience. It's like you're all contributing experience to the same pool. And then when you level up at certain levels, certain players have abilities that unlock.
Yeah.
So, for example, my character, Heimerdinger, had an ability that unlocks when the team reaches level 4, which is that whenever any mech, not just Heimerdinger, but any Heimerdinger or his allies, whenever any of them pushes another mech, another player, the player that gets pushed gets to heal. Which is useful for the whole team. It feels like it's something I'm contributing uniquely, and it is in the sense that if Heimerdinger were not in the game, the other players would not get this benefit. And I guess one thing that this makes me think of is MOBAs, which is fitting because this game is, of course, based on League of Legends, which is a MOBA.
What's a MOBA?
So MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena.
Okay.
It was, I think the genre evolved out of a Warcraft 3 mod, I think.
Defense of the Ancients.
Yes.
Yep,
And
Dota.
there are quite a few different MOBAs out there. Of course, it is a genre that is heavily dependent on network effects.
Mm-hmm.
The more people you have playing, the better the game is. So you can't have that many great MOBAs out at once because there's limited audience. But
It got to this in board game form. What is it that feels like a MOBA?
Right. So I think farming minions feels very MOBA-like because the way that MOBAs work is you have, one of the mechanics that's common to them is you have minions that march down various lanes towards the enemy team's base. And the minions automatically fight other minions, and generally they just kill each other off. But players can go in and kill enemy minions so that it's easier for your minions to push forward and destroy enemy defenses. But a big part of these games is farming minions to get experience. And in League of Legends, there's also gold you can get, which you can use to buy items. Now, the thing is, ironically, I don't think this actually feels very much like League of Legends specifically. I think it feels more like Heroes of the Storm because of the shared experience. So I played Heroes of the Storm back in the day, and one of the things I loved about Heroes of the Storm relative to other MOBAs is that your team levels up together. And I think that is a really cool mechanic because, for one thing, it reduces toxicity. Like in games like League of Legends, people will yell at you if you start dying.
Stay in your lane, I think, started with League of Legends.
Is it?
I don't know. I just made that up.
But
I could believe it.
it seems like that has to be older than that.
You'd think.
But yeah, so like having experience shared among the team means that you can have roles that aren't based around killing stuff, for one thing. It's unclear. It's less clear which, if any player's responsible for the team losing because everyone gains levels together. I don't know. It feels just a lot more friendly.
Well, and you also end up with two forms of improvement then, too. You have the core experience track. We all have our individual improvement cards that are flipped at certain points. But then throughout the game, we're adding cards to our tableau individually. So we're actually creating very unique characters from person to person. Which, I think creates a really good team dynamic and makes it so it's very flexible with the characters that you do end up creating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some games, like our first game, I did barely anything. I hit my quota of killing 1 minion per turn. Meanwhile, you guys are killing like 5 per turn. But sometimes you just end up... That's part of the cooperation during that quick timed phase where you're drafting. You're kind of like, well, save that one for me. I need that color or I need that specific card.
I need more movement.
Yeah. I need to get out of a jam because I took damage last turn. So... that's the thing I haven't talked about yet, but maybe I'll make that my takeaway is how damage works on the mechs, who are us playing. Like I said, the minions just take a damage, they're dead. But we don't have health points.
Right.
Instead, you draw a damage card, which we probably talked about this in the Robo Rally episode, where it's very similar. You draw a card, and it'll be something like, oh, now you have to swap things in your program row. Or you have to roll a die, and whatever number you get, you put this new program line in your...
negative effect.
which is not always bad, but usually it's chaotic.
Yeah.
So you have to cover up your current row. And I think that's my takeaway, because I really enjoy when games, instead of just knocking down your health, give you another challenge to work around.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me personally, I really appreciated that they had such flexibility with really not a lot of variation in the cards. I think each color probably had 3 or 4 designs per color. I'm not entirely sure if that's the number, but there weren't a lot of different cards. But since you could stack them together and make them stronger in some cases, you had a lot of versatility in that small section, which is what I've tried to design before and kind of over-design when I do it. And so I think for my takeaway, I really want to lean into less is more and focus on that improvement aspect as opposed to just trying to make a lot of content.
It's also kind of nice that you can pivot between different types of the same color card, but the effect is on the new card, not the old one. So it's not like, okay, I have a low-level yellow card, and now I use another yellow card to buff up that card to a higher level. No, it's, okay, I have a low-level yellow card. I have a stronger yellow card. I put it on top of it, and my stronger yellow card is now the effect. So I've changed the effect, and...
Oh, right,
yeah.
You reprogram a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as to the damage mechanic, I did feel like a lot of the damage was, it hurt a little bit, but it wasn't so devastating that I never felt like it was preventing me from doing things. Then there are some pretty interesting types of damage. There was one that was purely social.
Which is why pretzels.
So yeah, basically, I think radio silence.
Yep.
Where the next word you say, you can only say that word until you fix the damage.
Yeah. Very silly thing.
Very
But-
silly. It reminds
So
me.
I tried picking, when I got that, I tried picking a word that might be useful. So I said no. Then Ananda got it too, and he said,
I said pretzel.
So for half that game, Ananda was just saying pretzel in different intonations and inflections.
yeah.
You can still communicate with it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that much of a barrier, really. It
So-
reminds me of a Dvorak card that I had once. Similar thing, about saying words or not saying words. Yeah.
So thinking about what we haven't talked about yet, which is a little bit of a spoiler, but inside this box comes another small box, but still quite big, that contains a boss. And the boss comes back a few times throughout the campaign.
Spoiler.
And you open this up, and he's like, I guess 4 times as big as
Takes
Yeah.
up 4
takes
tiles.
up 4 tiles
2 by 2
of a normal minion, which again you kind of accidentally run into him usually at some point to do damage. But the cool thing is they took this programming idea of what we're doing with our mechs, and he's kind of a big mech himself, so he has a program row that lets him do damage and move and do different things. And we actually get 2 cards on the boss's turn, and we decide which color we want to put out there. He also has 4 colors. So it's kind of cool that they let us do the programming and then decide how we're going to have to hurt ourselves.
But it is very limited, and the effects are very powerful.
Yeah.
I will say I do want to talk a little bit about the damage you two were taking during that boss fight versus me. I took, I think, a damage. I got 1 card. I also never dealt a single damage to the boss. And I could barely get off of my side of the board.
So
I
you're
was just
pulling
going
a
back
me
and forth.
in
I was
that
pulling a
second
Charlie.
game.
But you were instrumental in taking down that red shield.
That's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
Yeah,
so I
but-
could help with shields and make sure that we could make him hurtable.
For reference, the boss has a bunch. I don't know if we said this.
No.
It has a bunch of shields corresponding to the 4 different
Colors.
runes. I think they are
Runes, yeah.
The
Yep.
colors are also runes, and these runes appear on the board. And so, in order to bring down a shield, you have to go and step on the corresponding rune, and then you have to attack him before he fixes the shield
With that specific color.
Yes, with
Right.
that specific.
So
yes.
I love that mechanic, because it's like not only do we have to coordinate amongst ourselves who can step on blue. Oh wait, who has blue damage they can do?
Yeah.
And it's also in turn order, so you can't actually choose who's going to go next. You have to figure out how to do it in the correct order. Mm-hmm. And originally he doesn't heal over time, but then the second thing we picked up, he healed his shields at the end of each round. Mm-hmm. And so the first round it was great that he would just not have the shield up until we hurt him. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of with Ananda now that we should have taken that one, but what are you gonna do?
I was right.
Yep. That's a sign of a good game
Right.
too, when you're thinking about it after the fact. Should we have done this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
What do you guys have for takeaways?
Well,
said mine.
I think my takeaway is just what having all these disposable minions can do for a game. Mm-hmm. I remember for a while I was trying to make a board game MOBA, but I was focused on the element of team fighting, where you have different characters, they have different abilities, and they're all fighting each other. And the squishy minions in Mechs vs. Minions are really great because, they're a minor threat to you. They're not really a threat. They kind of wander aimlessly. They're not very smart. But farming them for experience feels great, even when half the time it's just accidental that you're killing them.
It's like, oh, I can turn that way and hit him. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and especially
It's kind of like Mario. Like, oh, you can just jump on them and they die. It's like satisfying.
And especially farming them for for team experience, that feels really good.
Yeah.
Just, getting all those
I
experience
I
points.
do wish that was a little more prevalent. I feel like that more could have been done with that aspect in the game. I just kind of wanted more to play with and like discover. But I think as you play the game, you will unlock more of these cards that you get to choose what you go out into the field with.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted more of that aspect personally.
But yeah, so I think my takeaway is just for a particular type of game, having disposable, very weak enemies that are no challenge at all to kill, that you can just farm for experience and level ups.
Especially for a co-op. It's a great thing to do.
And that you can farm when you're not doing other useful things.
Right.
Which is how it works in MOBAs, really.
Yeah. Even when it's 1 minion a turn, Charlie, you're still contributing.
Still contributing
doing
a little
something.
bit. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm tempted to keep going, but we also could talk a lot about this in our bonus episode too, because I'm curious to talk a little about like contrasting this with Robo Rally, which came out quite a bit before this, but it feels like definitely an inspiration for this kind of game too. Yeah. But maybe we'll get into that in the next episode.
Yeah.
Lots more to talk about with programming games. So tune in next time for our wrap-up episode on programming games.
Hey, thanks for listening to The Tabletop Takeaway. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. So please tell your friends and visit our website at thetabletoptakeaway.com, where you can suggest games and mechanics for us to cover next on the show.